Billionaire Bill Gates says bars and restaurants will have to close until deep into the next year, as he claims the worst of the pandemic is yet to come.
Sadly, the next 4 to 6 months could be the worst of the epidemic. Bars and restaurants in most of the country will be closed as we go into this wave, and I think, sadly, that's appropriate.
Former chief economist for the International Trade Commission, Peter Morici, joins us live. Peter, you know I like getting you fired up. That word obscene that you called Bill Gates' comments, why do you call them obscene?
Well, he said it was good for capitalism, and it certainly isn't. These people are not folks that built homes on the shore knowing a hurricane would eventually come and then are screaming that they're being told to evacuate. These folks are like folks who built a restaurant in Iowa and a meteor hit them. So to say it's good for capitalism is just silly. I don't know that we need the level of closures we're having. We certainly need them in places or to restrict usage. But to say we should virtually shut everybody down, I mean, hasn't he seen the carnage this has cost? I guess he's just a little too insulated, like the rest of the Silicon Valley, from the pains and aches of ordinary Americans.
Isn't this theme being repeated over and over, sort of a tone deafness from people who aren't billionaires, who don't have a steady paycheck coming in, i.e., you know, the people like governors and legislators who do have that paycheck closing down the people who don't? It just seems like this pattern is repeating itself throughout the last 9 months.
You know, and we focus on restaurant workers and public-facing workers as we should, because they're some of the most vulnerable with the incomes they have. But let's remember, 100,000 small businesses have closed. They have accountants and lawyers and so forth that next year won't have clients, and they're laying people off, and on it goes. Also, while we're locked down and working in satellite format and work-at-home format, we can keep things going, but the normal processes of hiring are not proceeding. The number of jobs created is declining. And we will return to the same level of activity by 2022, but we will have lost 2 years of growth, which means about, 3 million jobs or so.
Right.
That's what's obscene.
And if you weren't upset with Gates by now, listen to this. He's attacking the America First policy, obviously the Trump administration policy, saying we, the United States, should prioritize vaccines in third world countries. I look at this, Peter, and say, isn't this like being on a plane where you need to put on your mask first before putting on somebody else's? In other words, don't we need to help ourselves before we can help others?
Well, the hard reality is the vaccines that we have coming up present can't really be distributed to poor areas in the third world very effectively because of the refrigeration required and the protocol of double doses. Again, you know, he likes to fly off, but he just is out of touch. It's an unfortunate when very young men and women earn billions of dollars. I mean, it's great that they create this wealth, but then they go off and live on a mountaintop and say, gee, look at all those people scurrying around. They shouldn't run around so much. The exercise is bad for them. They'll die young that way. Come up here and clip your coupons and live on your savings and live the spiritual life. I mean, he thinks he's heading some sort of secular religion. This is absurd to think that Americans should die after developing the vaccine. It's just absurd. Tell me, he should pick out the 100 million Americans that should die because of his philanthropic prescriptions.
It seems like that mountain you describe is particularly tall there in Silicon Valley and in Washington State.
And
Peter
lots
Morici.
of clouds, so you can't see.
Peter Morici, we always appreciate your time. Thanks, sir.
Take care.
Carly.